Welcome, everyone. We are so excited to have you join us today to view the Diatribe's presentation. They are a group of teaching artists who share their words and experiences to inform and inspire. They cultivate art that will challenge, educate, inspire, and disrupt. I hope you'll enjoy, and I wanted to first share with you a poem from Rudy Francisco called Horizon. I hope I haven't already driven past my greatest moments. I hope there's something beautiful on the horizon that's just as important as I am. Something so eager it wants to meet me halfway. A moment that is diligently staring at its watch, trembling with nervousness, frustrated and bursting at the seams, wondering what's taking me so long to arrive. And finally, I just want to share one of my poems. I wrote this at MRA last weekend. Pieces of me that I've lost along the way catch up with me now and again. Past me, old me, who was young me, knew who she was sure who she was. Present me, old me, the me now, is not so certain. I'm a body of water, as changing as the weather. I hope that you'll enjoy this presentation from the Diatribe and be inspired to write your own poetry that you hopefully submit to. Hello. It's so nice to see so many familiar faces. Welcome, Fruitport students, guests from Montague, and students and teachers who are live streaming from Whitehall. Thanks to the MAISD, which I work for helping coordinate our live stream this morning to allow more students to be able to engage. We are so proud to host this special assembly with the Diatribe for schools in Muskegon County in partnership with Muskegon Area District Library as a kickoff to MADL's poetry competition launching today and throughout the month of April. As you all know, Fruitport Schools has a long history of encouraging students in their artistic expressions. We hope that this morning is inspiring and encouraging to all of you, and that many of you will take the opportunity offered to share your poetic voice with the community through this poetry competition. With that, I'd like to welcome Sarah Rinsema-Saidiga from Muskegon Area District Library to tell us a bit more about the poetry competition and to introduce our featured guest from Diatribe this morning.
Does this one work too? Excellent. Hey guys, we are super excited to be here, and thank you to Michelle for doing that very spontaneous introduction. You did a great job. So I'm Sarah Rinsema-Saidiga with Muskegon Area District Library, or MADL for short. We are so pleased to be here, thrilled to be here. Had been looking forward to this day for a long time. So today we're actually speaking to over 700 students across the county as kind of this launch to our poetry competition called MADL Verses. But you all are the first, so excited to be here. A couple of thank yous. First of all to Michelle. Many of you know her as Miss Renna. She said in a recent meeting that one of the things she loves to do is to connect ideas and people. And she is a huge reason why this has all happened today. both for the students joining us virtually and for everybody in the seats today. So hands up for Michelle, Miss Rena. So then I want to introduce a couple of very important colleagues and friends from MADL and from our partner organization at Fruitport District Library. These are friends, they're colleagues. They are also movers and shakers in this community and doing super innovative things through one of the oldest institutions of this country, which is the public library. So who are they? They are librarians. And they are, like I said, doing very, very exciting things at branches across the county. So they don't often get the limelight and the stage, and so I wanted to take the opportunity to do that today, to introduce them. So we have Holly Pelkey from she's a lead librarian at Norton Shores and also Muskegon Heights. Christina LeVay Rowland is the lead librarian at Holton and Montague. Do we have Montague in the house? Woo woo!
Woo! Yes, Montague.
Michelle Whitkop is our Youth and Teen Services Coordinator and works all across the county supporting librarians doing work. And Matt Lubbers-Moore is, like I said, the director of the Fruitport District Library and another partner of MADL's in this initiative. So these are some amazing people, and here is my challenge to you guys. Get to know your librarian. Like, go to your public library, hang out there, find out all of the resources that are there. There's lots of free stuff. Volunteer there. You know, there's a person, I think in this crowd, Nevaeh Cruz. Nevaeh, where are you? Is she here? Right. Yeah, Nevaeh Cruz. She's been a volunteer at MADL for years. And she can testify that these are some creative people here. They have resources to do really fun things in the county for youth, and they are looking for your ideas. Some of the programs and stuff that we have are planning for the next month were kind of looping behind me as as you guys were coming in. So hopefully you can just come out and check out some of those programs, fun stuff. But whenever we see youth, and definitely we want to have conversation about how to make the library a place that is for you. So I promised these guys I wouldn't keep these guys up here for much longer, but why don't we give a round of applause for all of the librarians that are with us today. And Nevaeh. Yeah, and Nevaeh. All right, so we are here to kick off the MADL poetry competition called MADL Verses, and Holly Pelkey is going to say just a few words about that.
Okay, so as she said, I'm Holly. I'm lead librarian for Norton Shores and Muskegon Heights. Some of you know me as Colin Pelkey's mom, Fruitport High School, class of 2000. Before we get started with our performers, I just want to give you a little info on what the poetry competition is. So we're doing this because April is National Poetry Month, and we're doing our first ever poetry competition throughout Muskegon County. So we put our heads together, me, Sarah, the crew that designed this whole thing, and we're like, how can we get people your age to participate? Because we have all the creative, brilliant, socially conscious minds are in our high schools. So we're like, let's contact our friends at the Diatribe and bring them in and let them do what they do best and get you guys inspired to enter this poetry competition. So the poetry competition is MADL Verses, and it's gonna run all of April. And there are 3 levels of prizes, but the one that covers yours is grades 7 through 12. And of course, we're gonna pay you if you win. First place gets $50 in publication, second place gets $25 in publication, and then there's popular vote that gets $25 in publication. And then we're also gonna do like a celebration at my library to crown all the winners and have poetry read there. So you can enter this on our website. It's madl.org/poetry. We take written and we take spoken word. So we have an esteemed panel of judges that Sarah's been putting together that are people that are in organizations all throughout Muskegon County. So the judges and the staff are really looking forward to reading and listening to your submissions, and I'm going to hand it back to Sarah so she can get the Diatribe on the stage.
Awesome. So we hope to hear lots of you guys' voices. That's your challenge. That's your opportunity. So to kick off today and the launch of the poetry competition, we have invited Diatribe, and we are in for a very special treat with the four that are joining us this morning. So Diatribe is an organization that is really about using the power of art to restore communities. And to particularly empower youth voice in creating restorative art. So there's just a small little blurb that was on their website that I felt like was kind of a mic drop moment. This is how it reads. We use restorative art to disrupt historical systems of oppression by reimagining education, holistically honoring the community through our approach to our work, and creating an unapologetic vision for liberation that is accessible to all. Mic drop, right? So this is an organization that's fresh, that's bold, that is really seeking non-traditional places to find and nurture and elevate new voices to help restore our communities. So today they are in our midst. What a gift. Put your hands together for Diatribe.
Yo, Foodport, can you make some noise? Come on now. So we appreciate energy, and we're gonna give you energy, the more energy that y'all give us. And like, I know that it's early, I know that, but I mean, y'all got to get out of class today, so that's pretty good. So on the count of three, when I say what up though, I want everybody in the crowd to say what up though. Ready? 1, 2, 3, what up though? What up though? That's what I like. I appreciate that. So we're gonna go through this line and we're gonna introduce ourselves. We're gonna tell you guys a little bit about who we are and how we fell into what we do. But before we start diving into sharing with you all, we gotta go over some like poetry rule basics, right? Because a lot of people don't know how to interact when it comes to spoken word, when it comes to poetry. If you like what you hear, what are some noises you can make if you like what you hear? Okay, that's pretty traditional, right? Can everybody give us some snaps? Everybody can do some snaps. That's pretty traditional, but I don't want it to sound like your grandparents' poetry show. Like, I definitely don't want that. So if you like what you hear, you can also clap. Can I hear some clapping? A little bit of clapping, right?
Hey.
If you hear a line that really, really sticks out to you, you can whistle. Does anybody know how to whistle? Some people don't. I'm sad for you if you don't. Some people know how to whistle. Okay, but you can holler. If you hear a line that makes you laugh, you can laugh, right? Like, please feel free to get comfortable, make it feel organic, and we're gonna share with you the more that you're willing to pour out and share with us. So I'm gonna begin and introduce myself. My name is Fable.
No, not yet.
I'm Gemini the Poet.
Caleb, the Negro artist, Rainey.
And I'm Kaja Kabir.
Super dope. And I'm going to go ahead and begin and dive in and share a little bit about myself and my story and how I got here doing this thing in front of you all today. So my name is Marcel Price, but everybody calls me Fable. I am not somebody who grew up thinking that I was going to do this. I'm somebody who grew up in a single-parent household with an incredible single mother. Is there anybody else here who's grown up in a single-parent household? A couple people. My mom, I watched her work multiple jobs to make ends meet for most of my life. A majority of my life when my mom was at work, I would spend time with my grandma and my grandpa. And my grandma and my grandpa were like my parents. They were my everything. When my little brother's dad came into the picture, he was somebody who struggled with drugs pretty heavily. He was somebody who struggled with narcotics. He did coke. And whenever he would partake in drinking and substances, he would always put his hands on me. And it made me be a really angry person. I was that kid that throughout high school, you could always see me getting in fights in the lunchroom, fights at basketball games, football games. I spent a lot of time in school suspension. I also spent a lot of time in out of school suspension. But I think now that I look back, what I was doing is I was trying to take back power wherever I could, because at home I felt like I was having so much taken away from me. Also at that age, in my early teens, I was diagnosed with anxiety, bipolar, and depression, which is to say I'm a lot of a human being, in a lot of ups and downs. But to get to where I am today, I had a really untraditional journey. So I didn't go to higher ed. I'm not somebody that went to college to do what I'm doing. And I was never really good at writing. I actually fell in love with writing because a teacher made a deal with me. So I was failing out of high school English class, like bad, doing really, really awful. And a teacher pulled me aside and was like, hey, I'll make a deal with you. If you turn in a piece of creative writing every day, I'll pass you. And I was like, bet, that sounds better than getting grounded. I will absolutely take that deal. So then every day I was turning in, songs, lyrics, short stories, whatever I could come up with. And at the end of that year, the teacher pulled me aside and was like, hey, I can see that you're actually writing. Did you know that Tupac was a poet? And I was like, listen, lady, Tupac was not a poet. He's a rapper. Everybody knows that, duh, right? And she was like, okay, whatever, and gave me this book of poems by Tupac, The Rose That Grew Through the Concrete. And after that, I started turning in poems every single day. And at the end of the year, she sent me to this college readiness class. And I was like, lady, I don't know why you're sending me to this class. I can't afford college, right? And she sent me to this class, and it was ran by the Ann Arbor Poetry Slam team. And they showed me that poetry could be whatever I wanted it to be. It could sound however I wanted it to sound. It didn't need to sound like, and the wind runs through the trees, right? It didn't need to be roses are red, violets are blue. It could be my story. It could be what I wanted to say, the way that I wanted to say it. And before I knew it, I got to where I am today. I was the first person of color to be labeled the title of Poet Laureate in the city of Grand Rapids. I was the youngest of city history, the first without a college degree. We now run this huge organization that's getting ready to create a multicultural arts center in our neighborhood. We do murals all across the city. I've had the honor of touring across the nation multiple times, speaking everywhere from UCLA to NYU. And I didn't even realize how far that my voice could take me, that my story could take me, or that I could do something like this for a living. So I'm here today to tell you all, if you don't like to write, you don't have to like to write to get into sharing your story, right? And your story has value, even though people try to convince you that it doesn't. But I'm a lighten it up a little bit, and I'm a read this poem about how bad my eyes are. Cause like I'm wearing glasses and like they don't look super thick, but that's cause these are like the ultra thins. Like my eyes are bad. Like my vision is terrible. So I used to be like that little kid walking around in school with like the Coke bottle, giant, fat, ugly boys. Yeah, anyways. This is a poem about that. At 10 years old, I tried to hit a soda can that was 5 feet away with a BB gun. Started to realize I couldn't read the words Coca-Cola on it, pulled the trigger anyway, failing to make the connection. Realizing A, I might need glasses, and B, if you can't see, you probably shouldn't be trying to shoot things. What I did peg was this 2-inch wide oak tree by mistake. Following this experience was my first visit to the optometrist. Glasses have not always been as in as they are now. I wielding this ugly rat tail and high top fade was dreading this experience. The frames bestowed upon me were a decadent blend of what can only be described as an infusion of leopard print and tortoise shell, an amalgamation of two creatures nature would never allow to make love. Why? Because that would make one ugly creature. One that just happened to make a home on my face. I arrived at school the next day, a new boy. Students trumpeted upon my entrance, "Family Matters in the building! Steve!" Laughter. A marching band that paraded behind me through the hallways. The ballad I heard most often, "Did I do that?" Over time, I learned to become one with the noise. Grab a sax and Coltrane my nature into They Say Boys Will Be Boys every year. My vision got worse. My lenses protruded more. And freshman geography glass, yo bro, your glasses are so thick, when you look at a map, you know the weather. Over here, like, it's about 72 degrees in Denver, huh, looking boy? At 17, I couldn't see the pellet in the bark anymore. That year in biology, I learned that a tree will continue to grow even with something foreign embedded in it. Glasses expanding each year, mimicking, flaunting a tree's telling of age. I want to ask if oak trees are I want to ask that oak tree if toxic masculinity is a little like that extrinsic object it now nurtures as it owned, how it ended up growing up protecting something that at one time damaged it most. I still don't know if I'm the projectile or the tree in this metaphor, but I do know that I've had a mouthful of copper and seeds since I've learned how to bury them both, clench my fists along with my teeth, and break them on the too tough to swallow. I mastered the art of deflecting everything. I didn't used to be a womanizer. You see, I just wasn't ready to slow down. I'm not a player. I just wasn't built to be monogamous. You know, what they don't know won't hurt. I mean, Pops ghosted and I was all right. I don't like fighting. I just enjoy shutting people up. Yo, my glasses are so thick, I can look forward and I can see the Lions win a Super Bowl. It's happening next year, baby. Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, you know he's coming. Yo, my glasses are so thick, I can look forward and I can see the Lions win a Super Bowl. It is coming next year. I can turn them around, see Barack's inauguration, flip them back and see Michelle's. Funny how I got all this vision and it still took me years to see myself perpetuating the problem. My vision is so bad, for a long time I couldn't see not all men is similar to all lives matter, failed to acknowledge the damage that can cause, failed to make the connection again. I now understand where I lie in this poem, that shrapnel is a seed, masculinity is a metal. I was the Coke can once standing by watching the chaos, failing to realize when I became just another part of the problem. Thank you guys. So next up, I'm gonna pass it to Muskegon's own. Y'all make some noise for Gemini!
How y'all doing? All right, I'm not sick. That's not why I got the mask. I'm not one of those people who are like a COVID terrorist, but I go by the voice for the voiceless, and the crazy thing is I wore this mask prior to COVID, not knowing I would be stuck wearing the mask for like 2.5 years. I'm born and raised here in Muskegon. I'm gonna take it off because this mic sounds muffled. I was born and raised here in Muskegon. Went to Muskegon High School. I am a big red Indian. I'm not an M, I'm an Indian. High school, I was that kid who thought I was invincible and could do what I want to do, and I was smarter than adults. And doing that, my freshman year, I ended with a 0.29 GPA. This is me. Do I want to stay here longer? Who want to stay in high school longer? Then you have to. Okay, I didn't think so. So I buckled down and got in the books, but it was a little bit of tragedy that struck. I became a teenage mother at 15, and my daughter caught what's called pertussis, whooping cough. I had no idea what it was. I'm like, what in the world? My daughter got sick and was at Butterworth Hospital. So every day I woke up at 5 o'clock, went to school, got out of school, went over to Grand Rapids, sat with my daughter, came home, repeat. Well, one morning, got a call like, hey, you gotta get here ASAP. My daughter had a stroke in the middle of the night. And so at 16, I was sitting at a table with doctors looking at me like, hey, we can pull the plug or she could be in a vegetable state. I'm a firm believer in God and trust in his process. And so I was like, Mom, I can't be selfish. And we decided to pull the plug. At 4:30 that afternoon, my daughter took her last breath, looking me in my eye. With that came Gemini the poet. Had depression. I tried smoking it away, it didn't help. Tried drinking it away, didn't help. And 9 months prior to losing my daughter, I lost my grandmother. And I only knew my dad's parents because my mom's parents passed before I was born. 9 months after my daughter, I lost my great aunt to cancer. 9 months after that, I lost an aunt who was like a second mother. So that was like death, death, death. I'm like, okay, God, how much more you gonna like put on my shoulders as a kid? Then in 2007, my best friend went to an interview, and she was headed back to work at her job and was hit by a drunk driver. Her funeral was the first time I ever performed a poem publicly. Fast forward 2010, a friend of mine was killed outside of Carbon nightclub. I was mad. I was angry, didn't understand it, and so I wrote. Had no idea I liked poetry because, like Fable said, when you heard poetry, you heard, oh, as the wind blows, my soul goes, and nope, that's not me, I can't relate to that. And when I did my poem, somehow, 103.7 The Beat got my poem. And from there, Big Rob and PA, who I love with everything in me, was like, okay, we're gonna play this on the radio. I'm like, huh? To this day, my poem plays on 103.7 The Beat. Since then, I have become an activist. I'm very vocal in the city. Some like it, some don't, but hey, I'm okay with that. I'm also a small business owner. College wasn't for me. I tried it. It was extremely not for me. I went to Grand Valley, where it was nothing to do but either watch the light bulbs change or drink. And I'm like, yeah, this ain't for me. But I did love computers. I taught myself computers and ended up working for Corporate Geek Squad for 10 years. But this is me. I don't want to do this forever. My passion is poetry. And I figured that poetry was my way to give back to the youth and in a way keep me connected to my daughter because I would be pouring back into her generation. Since then, I have published 3 books. I've spoke at 4 TEDx events. I won a Poet Across American Award, 2015 Best Local Spoken Word Artist, and 2013 Entertainer of the Year. And I do it because I feel like coming up I had a village. And as time has progressed, that village in Muskegon has kind of disappeared. And so I try to be that person that show up for the youth. Like if I tell them I'm gonna do something, I do it because so often adults will tell you one thing and then they'll take their word back because, oh, I have something better to do. I vowed to never do that to any of the youth that I interact with. They can call me at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm gonna be present. And so I'm gonna end with a poem called Who is Gemini the Poet? I am that young girl with low self-esteem, dying to fit in. I am that young girl who hid her sexuality because society condemned it and labeled it a sin. I am that young girl who craved the attention of her father. I am that young girl whose heart was broken when he didn't bother. I am that young girl who picked up that pen and let it cry my tears onto paper, allowing my emotions to be released like vapors. I am the product of a community that would much rather be prescribed pills and labeled for illnesses like ADHD, when in reality I suffer from hood mentality PTSD, which could be addressed if one seeking therapy wasn't looked at as a sign of being weak. So I vow to be the voice for the voiceless, for those who have endured some of the same traumas as me. I'm a product of a generation who thinks it's okay to solve their problems with guns. I'm a product of a society that feels when things get too hard, it's okay to run. Constantly being judged by the way that I dress and my tattoos. If only they could take the time to see past that and see that I'm the one who gets disturbed when I see the news, showing the constant downfall of our community, that I'm a pillar of our community out here trying to push unity, that I strive to get our youth to realize their true potential, showing them that to be successful in life, go to school, go graduate, go to college, go to trade school and get your credentials. Telling them to never let anyone determine their fate. Revealing my pain and trials, showing them that I'm not just talking, I can relate. I do this to inspire and motivate others, the youth, gangbangers, drug dealers, and products of single mothers. Because those are the ones who need our help. We can't continue to wait on someone else to come into our community and help. This, everybody, starts with self. That's why I strive to show the youth that you can make it even if you're not perfect. And I know this for a fact because it made me Gemini the Poet. Thank you. Next up, make some noise for my guy, Caleb, the Negro artist. Thank you.
Yo, I hope this mic on. All right, I'm gonna give y'all